It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Thank you, Chad Erickson, and great to have you all with us on this Thursday edition of the show. We got plenty to do over the next... it is a jam-packed show. What am I even saying? Jam-packed show today. Patrick McEnroe will stop by, talk tennis. BNP Paribas, the unofficial fifth major of the tennis season, and it is shaping up to be a terrific final 8 of that tournament on both the men's and women's side. We'll talk about that. Bubba Wallace is coming up in 10 minutes. Yes, that Bubba Wallace, the NASCAR driver, the number 23, Michael Jordan's team. We'll talk with him. Actually talked to him yesterday. We'll have that coming up for you, coming up in a couple of minutes. David Aardsma, former Major League Baseball reliever, our closer on the show to talk baseball. But we start things out in the NFL, and Sam Yarnell has returned from his one-day sabbatical. So, Sam Yarnell, Aaron Rodgers, now officially a free agent. It's the next layer to the story, right? Yeah. Cooper Kupp, also a free agent. We'll get to that. I got a theory I want to float on the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and here it is. Now, I know the other day I said he should just retire because none of the options that present themselves to him are going to win a Super Bowl. Okay? Not in Cleveland, not in Pittsburgh, not in Minnesota, not with the Giants. Okay, fine. If you want to argue maybe Minnesota, that might be the one. If you really want to stretch the argument, but fine. I got a better idea I just thought of today. Don't sign anywhere. Don't sign anywhere. Wait. Somebody's going to get hurt. Could be a star quarterback. If your option is sign with a team and not win a Super Bowl with the teams that are available now, or wait and see if something opens up, keep yourself in shape, wait and see what team avails itself, what opportunity avails itself vis-a-vis an injury, which is always going to happen in this league. Why not do that if you're Aaron Rodgers, Sam?
And I'll give you another reason why. Jason, what have we learned? Looking at my fake watch, I don't have a watch on today. What have we learned over the last 5 years about Aaron Rodgers? Think back, 5 whole years, a long time. What have we learned about Aaron Rodgers in that time period? He loves one thing more than football, more than family, more than anything.
I know where you're going.
Attention. Mm-hmm. He loves attention.
And if he's hanging out, yes.
What is the best way to maintain your name in the news cycle as an NFL quarterback? Don't sign with a team. You are exactly right. Because now, I won't even go as far as to say an injury, Jason Page. Think about this. Live in this world with me for a second. The Steelers bring back Russell Wilson. Okay? Yep. We're going to go all in with Russ this year. Whole team's looking great. We have a perennial DPOY candidate on the defensive side of the ball. We got, a new wide receiver room that's been revamped, a lot of good pass catchers, nice running back room. We're a quarterback away. Russell Wilson looks like Denver Broncos year 1 Russell Wilson right now. What are we going to do? Oh, hey, Aaron Rodgers, want to come play for us starting in week 6? Yeah. That sounds about right to me. Listen, I think it's a great idea. I think it's great for Aaron Rodgers for all the reasons that Aaron Rodgers loves about Aaron Rodgers. I can 100% get behind this, Jason.
Yeah, I think to me, it makes the most sense because right now there's this jockeying of, well, could it be Cleveland? Could it be Minnesota? The Steelers have reportedly already made an offer and Aaron's just sort of sitting on it. I just wonder if he has the patience. It's like playing poker, man. Sometimes you got to just wait for your hand. You can force it and try and jam and try to, make a hand where there isn't one. Or if you're Aaron Rodgers, just wait. Wait for the hand to come to you. It will. And at that point, you shove your chips into the middle. If you're Aaron Rodgers, that to me seems like the best option for him. Cooper Kupp is out. With the Rams. It had been thought that this would happen, and it did. Possible landing spots for him that makes sense?
Well, he's going to end up a Kansas City Chief. Duh. But where would it make sense for him to go? Couple of places come to mind. Buffalo, obviously, because we know that Bills passing offense, right? And there would not be a lot of pressure on Cooper Kupp. Dallas. Ugh, no, not Dallas. Other Texas team, Houston. I don't know what the Stephon Diggs situation is like. So as long as that's kind of out the door right now, I think Cooper Kupp is a viable replacement on a much cheaper deal, I would assume. Those are the two that immediately come to mind for me, Jason. I don't know what other dynamic passing offenses are there or receiving rooms that just need one guy but don't need him to be healthy all the time.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's
The
31.
Giants?
You're gonna be 32 years old by the time you get to the next season. I mean, what's he gonna be at this point? You don't need him to be Cooper Kupp of 10 years ago,
Right.
or 5 years ago anyway. So I kind of wonder just what you're getting in him. There's gonna be a lot of. We were talking about this with somebody. Who were we talking about this with? I had somebody on the show we were talking about this with. All these prove-it deals. There's going to be a lot of guys on prove-it deals. Justin Fields, 2-year prove-it deal. Joey Bosa in Buffalo, which we haven't had a chance to obviously talk about with you, on a prove-it deal. How are you feeling after Nick Ferguson, by the way, came on the show and said that Joey Bosa should be on the couch next to him, and then your Bills signed him?
Yeah, no, I agreed. The prove it deal is kind of the only upside to it, like you mentioned. He will obviously have a tenacity with him. I also think he's objectively going to play on a better defense now with more talent around him. That could also help, but something's going on in Buffalo, Jason Page. Something is not adding up for me with this Bills offseason right now, and I can't put my finger on it, and no one I'm talking to can put my finger on it, but I've heard people agree with me around the NFL that it does not make sense how the Bills have made the moves that they have, but continue and continue and continue to free up cap space for this year. Even, I think it was yesterday, the day I was off, Ed Oliver renegotiated his contract, $10 million in cap freed up for this season for the Bills, but they're not moving on any of these major free agents. Something's going on in Buffalo, and I'm curious to see what it is.
But I mean, sometimes you're freeing it up, for the following season. I mean, you could be doing that too. Doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. The Bosa signing to me tells me though that they know in their heart of hearts they got to do a better job getting to the quarterback. That tells me, without question. We got Bubba Wallace coming up. My conversation with the number 23 driver next. SportsWrap continues. Good to have you with us. Let's talk some NASCAR. Las Vegas, Pennzoil 400 coming up this weekend, and we've decided to give it its due attention, being that we're based out here in Vegas. We're a national show, but we're based in Vegas, so we thought a good idea to talk to some of the drivers that are going to be coming out here. I have made it official. It'll be my first NASCAR race coming up on Sunday, and I can't wait. And we're talking about it with Bubba Wallace, who hangs out with us on the show, the number 23 car, Michael Jordan's team. And Bubba, look, it's been a nice start to the season for you. Stage points, which is something we've noted on the show, that it almost feels like there's been a strategy in place for your team in terms of trying to stack up those team points or those stage points early on in the year. Is there a concerted effort on your part to try and get those in situations where you might feel like you have a good car, but maybe not good enough to win a race?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be fluid with the situations. We actually had a good meeting about exactly that yesterday. Just taking it's early enough to take the risk. If we don't feel like it's our best day, then try to do something. There's a couple guys in the field that really capitalize on that each and every weekend. They give themselves that one shot, and I don't know the success rate on it, but it's better than never giving yourself the shot. And so I think we're a little bit more fluid in those motions this year, and it's been good to see. Take responsibility and capitalize on that. For Coda example, we scored 30 points, but we finished 20th, but it was, because of stage points. So last week in Phoenix, that one kind of sucked, only scoring 8 points. So that one set us back a little bit, but it's early on. We're excited to show up to Vegas. Did a lot of prep work today for this weekend, so ready to get there and hit the ground rolling.
Phoenix looks like a wild ride. I mean, watching that race, I watched it from start to finish, and Phoenix looks like a wild ride. You never know if there's going to be a big one or multiple big ones. In your case, it was just a tire or a rotor or the brakes. Give us a sense of what happened there later in the race.
Yeah, well, from the race standpoint, it was a strange Phoenix because normally you have one or two cautions and that's kind of it. Well, I guess we all woke up and decided to choose violence on Sunday. So it was caution fest. But for us, it was a grind. We weren't the best of cars by any means. It was kind of a slap in the face from what we thought we had on Saturday. And so we were just kind of biding our time and got in a position to capitalize on a top 10. Still a lot of laps left. But yeah, our brakes ended up exploding from too much heat, and that took us out of contention. So
we had Kyle Larson on the show last week. He was in town to promote the Pennzoil 400, and I asked him about you because he said something during the press availability amongst all the media where he talked about the respect he has for you, not just because of what you do on the track. And there's always media trying to stir up trouble, and they're like, hey, what do you think of Bubba Wallace? And he's too smart to fall. He's way too smart to take the bait for that. But he actually used it as an opportunity to praise you and to talk about sort of not just what you go through as an on-the-track racer, but he feels like you almost have to deal with extra because of a lot of the things that are said and because of, as he used it, the way you look off the track. And I thought it was really interesting that he went out of his way to really praise you. So I'm not saying you have to say something nice about Kyle right now, but at the same time, I thought it was really interesting that he went out of his way to talk about you that way.
Yeah, no, Larson and I have had a history, of course, and it goes back to the K&N days. We had never seen eye to eye. He had jumped in my ride at Rev Racing back in 2010 or 12. And ended up winning the championship. I was in the JGR car then, but he didn't give me the credit because I almost wrecked his ass in that race because he chopped me in 2012. And so he should have thanked me for winning that championship. But no. We've had a history just from the Kupp side of stuff, obviously dating back a couple of years ago. But I quickly realized that Larson's one of the best talents that any of us have ever seen. And the thing about me saying that is not a jealous bone in my body saying that. It's an impressive bone to see what every form of race car that he can jump in and be successful at and right away. And it makes you think about the time frame or the ladder of progression. Like, can quickly be like, well, damn, why isn't that me? I just appreciate me being in the same realm as him, being able to witness that, and it gives us all hope that maybe we'll be there one day as good as him. So Kyle's his attitude about the good days is he's pumped, but the attitude about his bad days, it's not so bad to him. And so there's some ways that you can mimic that, and I feel like I have a little bit, especially this year, like after Phoenix. It is what it is. So you just kind of move on. But yeah, I think we have a lot of respect for each other, despite what the media will try to stir up or our past history. We get along fine, and it's fun racing against him.
Your last win in Kansas in 2022. When it's been that long, can you find yourself pressing in those situations when it gets to a moment where there's sort of a crossroads in a race and it's that opportunity to either get in front and try to get that win? Tell me the mindset of a driver in that position as you search for that next win.
Yeah, it reminds me of, it's been 2 years, but, when Blaney, when he won after his drought, 2023 at the Coke 600, excuse me, he mentioned in his interview, he was like, I appreciate everybody for believing in me because you never know if it's going to happen again. You never know if you're going to be able to do it again after being so long. And, for sure, I have those moments where you think about that. Can I still do it? I feel like I can, but it seems like the opportunities are slim to none. And so I think that was one of our main focuses going into this year is give us more chances of running inside the top five. and let me go out there and lose 4 before winning that 1. But never having a dog in the fight, if you say, it's hard to do. And so I feel like this year will be our strongest one yet. The way I'm approaching the season, each and every race is different. From the team side, there's a lot of good that is coming our way that we have an opportunity to capitalize on. And so when it's been a long drought, you put that to the side, you don't think about it, and you just go out and give it your all each and every weekend.
Well, I got to tell you something. You got a new fan. Since I started watching and really getting in deep into it last year, I've loved watching you. We always look at your odds every week, and we're like, is this the week Bubba finally gets a win? We're pulling for you this week. I want to wish you the best of luck at the Pennzoil 400. We'll see you out here in a few days.
Cool. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. Patrick McEnroe coming up in 20 minutes to talk some tennis. BNP Paribas. I also want to get his thoughts on the Jets signing Justin Fields because he's a Jets fan. So I'll ask him about that. But let's say hello to our good friend David Aardsma, because if it's a Thursday on Sports Wrap or a day ending in Y and we could talk baseball, we will do just that. So David Aardsma hangs out with Sam and myself on the show. Look, I mean, how devastating is it? First Luis Gil, now Gerrit Cole. Gil will be back at some point, but Cole obviously won't be this year. And can I ask a question? Why don't they just look at pitchers' elbows every year? Why not just do a scan of pitchers' elbows every year? Just so we could find out in advance. I mean, they could have known this. They probably could have known this injury was there 3 months ago.
Probably could have. There's a couple different things there. One, players will never agree to it. They're just never agree to it. Two, one thing I learned from Dr. Yoakum, who did my Tommy John, he goes, you don't treat the MRI. He goes, you treat the person. You treat the person and their symptoms. So he goes, there's pitchers in Major League Baseball that don't even have a connected UCL. That are pitching great, that do well. He goes, there's guys a full range. Wow. There's guys that are fully healthy, connected. It's perfect on an MRI, and they can't throw a baseball. So you don't treat it. You treat the player, and then you look at the MRI to see if it matches. And he goes, sometimes you just got to find out and look in there. And so that's why that's the main thing about it. And at the same time, I think there's sometimes pitchers don't want to know. Teams don't want to know what those MRIs look like. As long as you're performing on the field, just guys, just kind of keep going.
So, okay, that brought up a crazy question that I have that only you can answer. I don't even know how to ask this. When you join a new team, when you're traded, when you sign a contract, whatever the case may be, when you show up on the first day, when you go to a normal job, right? You show up on the first day of work, HR's there, they have a little training program for you to run through. Here's your computer, here's your desk, yada, yada, yada. What's that like in the major leagues? Do you have to go to a bunch of doctor's appointments? What's it all like?
So when you sign with a new team and you're a free agent signing, you're not just a minor leaguer kind of comes over. 100%, you're going to doctors, you're doing doctor checkups. So whenever I got traded, the 8 times I got traded, you go to a team doctor, you go through a doctor's exam, they check everything out. Very rarely until I got older was there MRIs involved. Once I got older and I had Tommy John, I had to tip my hip surgery. Then they're checking shoulders. Like the Yankees, I sat in an MRI machine. We did hip, shoulder, and elbow. So I was in there for about 2 hours and at 1 a.m. And it was absolutely miserable. Some other teams will take those. The Yankees, the Yankees did all that. I think when I signed with the Marlins or something, they took the MRIs from the Yankees and just checked them out. You're we know what you got. You're good. And then some other teams want to do their own checks. Everything's different. One time I got a full medical checkup, as if I was 45 years old, full checkup. Some of those things are totally different. Some are whatever it is. And but outside of that, you walk in and it's where do I go? Then you try to figure out from there. There's no one holding your hand walking you through unless you're Juan Soto, and then it's a giant parade to let you know how great you are.
David, I want to know what your thoughts are as to whether or not the Yankees can survive this. And I'll ask you that in just a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates debt relief program can help you resolve that debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. Don't wait. It'll save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code right there. All right, David Aardsma, can the Yankees survive this? As I sit here and play with a baseball.
Right. Here, I'll join you.
Thank you. We should have
Sam,
can you find one, Sam?
Oh, yes.
There you go. There you go.
100%. Don't get me wrong. You never want to lose one of the best pitchers in baseball. Gerrit Cole's a huge leader on that staff, everything. This is why you sign Max Fried. This is why you don't get rid of Marcus Stroman until you know exactly where your rotation is. The worst, let's think about this. The worst option is going back to Marcus Stroman. That's not the worst thing in the world. For as much of a kind of crybaby as he has been, it's worked out really well. There's no one else in baseball where just the baseball god sat there and said, "Here's your opportunity," better than Marcus Stroman. Will Warren, one of their high prospects, obviously he's going to get now an opportunity. But Clark Schmidt too. This is not the worst options in the world, and the Yankees have a good enough offense to be able to weather a lot of this. I actually think the Stanton injury might be a lot worse than the Gerrit Cole injury, and obviously Heel will come back.
So, David, you touched on it there, but outside of the Cole injury, it seems like everything is kind of going wrong. Not just for the Yankees, let's just throw the Mets in there too. New York on the whole. Injuries are aplenty in the Big Apple right now. I guess my question is this, with the Yankees, between Heel, Stanton, Cole, all of this, we still see them expected to win the American League East. Or not the American League East.
Come out of the American
League. Yes. Right, the American League. Why? Explain it to me. I don't understand it. Tell me that there's a team that's better than them somewhere in the AL West.
That's my problem. Is I don't know if there is a team better than them. I don't know if when I'm looking out there, I'm trying to figure out did the Astros get better? Did the Mariners get better? The one team, this is the team that we kind of keep all sleeping on, is the Rangers, because the Rangers actually did get better and died just healthy by not doing anything. The Rangers got a lot better, and so that's the team I think we're all kind of they were really bad last year. They were World Series champions the year before that, and they kind of had that year after where sometimes that happens where you just kind of wake up after winning a World Series title and you forget that you're good. My thing is you can't overlook the Red Sox, even the Blue Jays, the Orioles. You never know what they're going to come out as, even though they're having some injuries too. I'm not really too worried about the Central, but it's a lot more about that Rangers team, and maybe there's always a surprise East team that's going to catch somebody. But at the end of the day, the National League is where all the athletes are, where all the players, everybody, all the money moved to the National League right now. It's this weird shift of players, and so it's National League or bust for me.
By the way, Clay Holmes doing good things in that Mets rotation here in the spring. David, we gotta go. We're holding you over for another segment, but Clay Holmes, in one word, impressed?
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. We're coming back. We'll do more with David Aardsma next. All right, the conversation continues on this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap with David Aardsma, former MLB reliever. Did not play with Jesus Flores, we learned during the break.
I played against him. There's no doubt I played against him many times.
But he did not play with him, and he did not play with Kevin Moss, we also learned during the break as well. Just say. Kevin Moss, man. That was my guy. We were saying everybody had that mediocre player that they loved in their youth. Mine turned out to be Kevin Moss.
And he gets a prime spot on the background.
And nobody can even see what that baseball is. Nobody has any idea. I'm still holding on to my Paul Skeens card, though. This thing doesn't leave my side every day.
That's the one that needs to go in the background.
Yeah. Well, I got to get it graded. So, speaking of Paul Skeens, he might be the one pitcher that hasn't gotten hurt this spring because it feels like every pitcher is getting hurt again, David.
Just pray for that one. Just big Paul, no.
But what is going on? I mean, we're seeing it again. And we talked about this epidemic last year. There's studies put out, and it just doesn't seem like it matters.
The studies. They went out and found out what we all know. Throw hard, get hurt. You know, the more we're going to try to throw hard, these absolutely crazy off-speed pitches, the more guys are going to get hurt. We knew this. We all knew this. But Paul Skeens, you know, let's pray that he just stays healthy. Again, one of the biggest things too is it's crazy. You don't quite know who is going to get hurt, who's not, because you don't understand the ligaments. They're different. There's different strengths, different abilities for different pitchers. Some guys somehow stay healthy year after year. Some guys just are always ticking time bombs, like DeGrom. Like, doesn't matter. He steps on the mound, he's going to get hurt. It's just some of these crazy things. But spring training, this is when you find out all this stuff. A lot of these guys, I think, to be honest, I'm going to say this, I don't think anybody else says, they're hurt in the offseason. They just didn't tell anybody, and you got to get to camp. Like, you got to get into camp to be able to say, hey, like, my elbow's bothering me. Because it's, for a lot of guys, it's roster spots. A lot of guys, that's your chance to get on a team. And I'll be honest, like, I know plenty of players that were hurt 100% going into camp, threw a couple bullpens, then told the team, hey, my elbow's bothering me. And they got on a roster for a year and a half, 2 years.
So that brings me to another question, though, David, because it does feel like this year, and I'm sure you saw this firsthand, like, some years it's just weird, but there are years where more guys get hurt, not just pitchers, right? Like position players, pitchers, anyone, more guys just tend to get hurt. And it seems like we're seeing that in spring training this year. The Bobby Witt injury, right? Rafi Devers slowing down, Max Scherzer, like, not even these guys necessarily fighting for roster spots, but these guys who, cemented big leaguers. What do you notice, or what did you notice during those years when you were in the major leagues, when there were a lot more guys getting hurt seemingly than usual that could possibly contribute to that?
I think sometimes, let's be honest, if Gerrit Cole did not go down with the elbow, we wouldn't really be talking about it. We wouldn't be talking. It wouldn't really be a discussion, because
I thought I texted you before that. I sent you the whole litany of pitching injuries.
The whole litany, but there's only one name on there that really mattered, that really is going to change rosters and change a team's outlook. There's always injuries. There's always, every roster, there's one or two guys that get hurt, a shoulder here, an elbow there. It doesn't matter. But now Major League Baseball, we know the prospects, we know the underlying guys, we know everybody. Before, they weren't telling you about the 30th guy on the roster, that's not going to make the team when his elbow blows out. They're not really telling you about that. Now we know everything about everybody who's getting hurt. To me, actually, this is a little down year. It's really only been Gerrit Cole as a big name guy that's going to go down. Obviously, we talked about the Stanton a little bit. That's such a unique thing, and who knows what's going to happen with that. Alvarez, obviously, with New York and some other stuff, but it's really Gerrit Cole is the name. That's it. Like, if you get 3 or 4 big number one guys going down, now let's have a discussion. Like, I think that was last year where we had a lot of guys. Gerrit Cole is the only one right now, and he's old. Let's be honest. This is about the years when that usually happens.
In the couple of minutes we have left, I want to get your thoughts. I asked you last week about Elly De La Cruz potentially winning an MVP this year, certainly being in contention for that. We talked about Paul Skeens. Who are the rookies that are kind of exciting you the most as we start ramping up towards opening day? Is it a Marcelo Mayer? Is it a Carson Williams? A Travis Bazzana? Like, who has got you the most excited for opening? What is wrong with you, Sam?
Jackson Jobe. It's Jackson Jobe, right?
Lord,
has to be. Okay. Has to be. No, there's some great stuff. Obviously, I don't know all the guys' names. Usually with rookies, I sit back, man. The thing about spring training with rookies and young guys, I usually wait. I wait. It's like let's wait until the season gets started, because if we were going to do that whole entire Orioles AAA team that was scoring 100 runs every game the moment the season started would all be in the big leagues and they'd win 1,000 games. Well, you know what? They ended up like 500. And a lot of those guys stayed on the roster almost all year. So to me, with rookies, the biggest thing I sit back and say, like, unless you're going to make the roster and keep going. Like, I can get excited. Job's awesome. I love it. I get excited. It's energy. It's going. But you're not facing the number one dudes every day, and it's not normal. And those guys are coming in the camp with a fire that no one else has because you want to prove everything. When you get into the everyday routine, the 162, the travel and everything, like everything's going to even out a little bit. Like let's go. Like I don't get excited about rookies. I just don't. I never have. Jason Hayward, I remember back in the day, like that was everyone's like Jason Hayward. And he came out, he won Rookie of the Year, but he hit like 250, but you thought he was going to win MVP, coming out of spring training. He was the greatest player of all time. And so I tend to wait and let's let the good dust settle and let's let everything come out. Because to me, I made a major league team and I should have never made it. Basically, for the spring, I wanted it more than anybody else, and it took me years to figure that out. But I also, when I see other rookies, it's like let it pump the brakes.
All right, we gotta go. David, be well, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Put the wet blanket on all the rookies out there.
We're coming back. This Thursday edition of Sports Wrap continues. I said it was a jam-packed show today, and it is. Patrick McEnroe gives us a few minutes of his time. Look at him.
I'm ready to go, man. Let's go.
Getting ready to fly out to the desert, go watch the late stages of the BNP Paribas, the unofficial fifth major. And it's funny, you got the Players' Championship, unofficial fifth major of golf, and BNP in the same week. And look, I mean, before I get to who's remaining in the field, let's talk about who's not. And that's Novak Djokovic, who fell to a lucky loser. Some thoughts on sort of where Djokovic's game is right now?
First time maybe in his whole career, or at least in the recent past, that he's lost 3 matches in a row now, going back to the Australian Open when he was forced to retire after losing that first set in the semis to Zverev. Then he lost in the first round over in the Middle East, a tournament he played there, Jason, and now shockingly went out in the first round out there in the desert. He'd had some time to prepare. He'd had some time to get ready, to get healthy. Wasn't that surprising that he lost early in the desert because in the desert in the Middle East, I should say. Because he was just coming off the injury, but he did have plenty of time to prepare. So the conditions out there, that's been a big topic of the discussion over the course of the first 8 or 9 days, which is that the conditions very slow, even slower than normal. They actually changed the surface. They went from, one type of hard court to another that's less gritty, less sanded. A lot of the players have been complaining about the grittiness of the courts, but still playing very slow. And that didn't seem to help Djokovic at all. So, he's going to try to get himself together. Obviously, he's really just focused on the majors. He'll try to play in Miami, which will be coming up in a week or so, to see if he can get some momentum leading into the clay court season in Europe.
Patrick McEnroe, of course, ESPN fame, the International Tennis Hall of Fame as well. He's the president there, hanging out with us on the show. So give me some thoughts on who remains here. We got Alcaraz, we got Draper-Shelton, which should be a great matchup today between those two. When you sort of look, Runa's still there, Medvedev is still there, still plenty of star power for the men's side of this thing.
Yeah, Draper's had a great week. That was a huge win for him. He's the young Brit, big lefty, had a good run last year at the U.S. Open. I love his game, and he's getting fitter and stronger, so he's able to, go deeper now in these tournaments, and he took out Taylor Fritz, the top-ranked American, pretty comfortably. Now he's got Shelton. Shelton's a big tournament player. He's a little inconsistent still at times, which is why he's not quite a top 10 player yet. But in the big tournaments, he brings the A game. So I'm expecting that to be that's going to be a slugfest. You got 2 guys with monster serves, huge forehands. Probably will come down to who can capitalize on the return game, maybe steal a breaker. I expect there to be 1, maybe 2 breakers in this one. Alcaraz has looked amazing. He's been unbelievable. Destroyed Dimitrov last night, dropping just 2 games. Of course, Grigor had a 3-hour plus win over Monfils earlier in the tournament, which is probably the match of the tournament, to be honest. But Alcaraz looks great. Medvedev has had a rough year so far, so this is a very good result. I was surprised how easily he beat Tommy Paul, another top-ranked American there. But I still like Alcaraz, to win it. He loves it out there. The fans come out in huge numbers for the tournament in general, but particularly for him. And the women's field, Jason, is very strong. Madison Keys, her first tournament since winning a major in Australia. She's playing great. Swiatek, Sabalenka, they're still alive. So there's some major star power in the women's side as well.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. The year Madison Keys is having, and it just continues here in the desert with what she's been able to do out there so far. Another impressive win for her on Wednesday. Give me some thoughts on Madison Keys. Who is it as simple as you win that first one and it just unlocks everything else?
I think that's definitely part of it. I think she's playing with a calmness now, Jason, that we've never seen from her before in big spots and big matches. We saw that again yesterday against Vekic, who was playing really well for Keys to win that in the third set. She's just playing the big points better. She's playing smarter. She's playing with a little bit of margin when she has to. I think she can win another major this year. I actually did a Tennis Worthy podcast that I do now for the Tennis Hall of Fame with my buddy Cliff Drysdale, I've worked with for years and years at ESPN. And we both agree that she can win another major. I think she's got a great chance to win Wimbledon again this year and a good chance to continue on here in Indian Wells. She's going to be a factor, I believe, in every big tournament for the rest of this year and maybe for the next couple of years. And like you said, winning that Australian, getting that proverbial monkey off the back has been amazing for her. But she's also just playing with so much more steadiness in the big moments, and that's what's been the difference for her. By the way, let's shout out to my other guy I used to work with at ESPN, the great fiery Fred Stolle, who unfortunately passed away in the last week out in the desert, in Palm Desert, where he'd been living for the last few years. I got my start in TV alongside Cliff and Fred, and Fred was, is a Hall of Fame player, had a Hall of Fame career in the broadcast booth as well. So tip of the cap to the fiery one, as they call him, who passed away out in the desert in this past week.
How much does this tournament miss with Sinner not being there?
I think every tournament misses without him. He's number one in the world. He's the best player. He's the best on this surface. As you said, there's still a lot of star power. The crowds have been phenomenal yet again, and that's continuing. So, yeah, the tournament misses him, but the game always moves on.
Yeah, it certainly does. Talking with our friend Patrick McEnroe. Listen, have fun out there. You'll only be about 4 hours from me out here. Enjoy the rest of the action out there this week. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Jason.
All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. But before we do, a reminder. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast. Available Monday through Friday, all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere else you get your podcasts. Also, you can watch us on Spotify. You can watch the show. It's available there, video form. Also can watch us on YouTube every day as well. The show gets uploaded to there too. All right, without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends presented by our friends at Credit Associates. Did you see Mikal Bridges for the Knicks last night? Ooh. Yeah. When we just had Kurt Heelan on the show yesterday, he was like, I don't know if Mikal Bridges can handle the load while Jalen Brunson's out. Well, I think he proved some of those naysayers wrong, didn't he? He blocked the Trailblazers from getting a win last night, just like your credit card debt is blocking you right now. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, and that'll save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Don't wait. Find out how much you could save right now by calling 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. It was Dancing with the Stars last night in Houston. Steven Adams and Mason Plumlee, Sam Yarnell, doing the cha-cha-cha, wrapped up in each other and going down and both getting ejected last night. Can I tell you something? I mean this. And I like the NBA. I didn't even know Steven Adams was still in the league. I didn't even know that dude was still playing. And then I looked last night, and he's getting tangled up with Mason Plumlee, and neither of those two guys are going to back down. But you know, your typical NBA fight. I mean, Adams was joking with Durant as they were walking away. I mean, it was just typical Steven Adams stuff.
Yeah.
Plumlee got a little cut above his eye, though.
Steven Adams, I think, is everything that this is really unfortunate that I have to say this right now.
Okay.
Steven Adams is like what Draymond Green wants to be, but Draymond Green gets all the attention because he has way better teammates.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate because Steven Adams has had some great teammates in his career, and he's played on some great teams, but he always plays on the teams with the guys who famously can't make it all the way by themselves.
It's true.
So
Steven Adams is like he's like a hockey player. He's like the defenseman in hockey.
That's just my little spiel.
All right.
On the
Steven Adams.
The Pacific Islander, the big Pacific Islander.
Fair enough. Did you see this last night?
Gets it right back to Bridges. Bridges puts up a three. Bang! Bang! Mikal Bridges wins it at the buzzer. What a finish!
We gotta do this dance again.
Let's go, Mikal Bridges. Hey, it's a win on the road in the NBA. Blazers have been playing better by all measurements. The Blazers have been playing better. They're on the doorstep of potentially being a play-in team. That is a good win on the road for the Knicks. 2-0 without Jalen Brunson, baby.
Against the Kings and the Trail Blazers.
Let's go.
The Kings.
Let's go.
And the Trail Blazers.
Win's a win in the NBA. Win's a win.
Major reality check coming Saturday night in Golden State. That'll be an interesting.
We'll see. Nick, I said if any team was equipped to deal with a Jalen Brunson injury, it is this Knicks team, the next man up mentality. That's Tom
And
Thibodeau.
I still don't disagree with you. And if they beat the Warriors in Golden State, Jason, then we can start to talk.
Okay. All right. Well, Mikal Bridges did all the talking last night. That's all I know. College baseball, and if it's college baseball, it must be something weird happening because I don't talk about college baseball. How about Kansas? By the way, how the hell are they playing a baseball game in the Minnesota Vikings Stadium? That was the weirdest
University
looking
of
thing.
Minnesota plays their home
That was
games.
one of the weirdest looking things I've ever seen. Like, really? We blew up the Metrodome so we weren't playing baseball games inside of football stadiums, and now the Minnesota Golden Gophers are playing their games. 5 straight home runs. Don't bury the lead, Paige. 5 straight home runs for the Kansas Jayhawks yesterday in a win against Minnesota. Were they all off the same pitcher, by the way? Do we know?
I don't think so. I think they were off of 3 different pitchers,
my God.
but I'm not sure. I will say
That's
I was
insane.
not. The college baseball lover that I am, I was not watching this Minnesota-Kansas midweek out-of-conference game live.
Yes.
I was, however, locked into Florida State a couple of nights ago. Let me tell you, that was a good one down in the Seminole State.
You were the one.
College baseball has been electric this year. There are a ton of prospects who are very close to Major League ready, and it just continues to be a hotbed for the sport. The rise of college baseball is awesome. And yeah, 29-1 against a Big Ten team is really impressive. The Jayhawks might be coming.
Can we go? Are we done? 5 straight home runs. I wonder what the record is for like Division One.
I believe they said it.
Really? Back to back to back to back to back. It's going to do it for us. Thank you to Bubba Wallace, Patrick McEnroe, David Aardsma, all of you for watching. I'm Jason Page. That's it for Sports Wrap. We'll see you on Friday.